So for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Berger, and I'm the president of the American Technion Society. It feels really wonderful to be standing here surrounded by so many friends and advocates of the Technion, and I mean everyone in this room here today. Professors, researchers, senior administration, fellow Technion supporters, and of course the ATS staff who made this a few days possible. So my presidency has been a very unusual one, to say the least. I started my term in October 2019 and participated first time as president in November of 19 at the National Board meeting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, my hometown. And I managed to do a little bit of traveling around the country, visiting local communities and councils before the COVID hit. And then I spent the better part of my presidency just leading the organization in the virtual space. Against all odds, something really amazing and wonderful happened in the wake of COVID. The silver lining, I guess you could say. In hindsight, it's not surprising, not at all. Your passion for Technion has been unwavering for the last few years. Your dedication did not stop, not even for a second, throughout the last 2 years. And both the ATS and Technion didn't hesitate to jump into action. We rose to the occasion and not only survived, but we have flourished. And now to be standing here with you at this pivotal and historic moment in time, and our beloved Technion approaches its 100th anniversary, I must say it makes me still feel so proud and so emotional to be here. So I look out to this beautiful group of people here today, and I see friends who I've known for many years, countless years, new friends that I just met yesterday and some today. And I've met families who are sharing their passion for the Technion with the next generation. That feels good. And they're continuing to champion the Technion and bring it into the next century. Family and passion, that's what we're all about here. And at the core of all this is the Technion and its people. Without this exceptional faculty and brilliant students, there would be no Technion, and for that matter, no Israel as we know today. Professor Alon Wolf, Vice President for External Relations and Resource Development, knows a lot about this. He received all 3 of his academic degrees at the Technion, conducted his postdoctoral work at Carnegie Mellon University, and then joined the Technion faculty in 2006. My wife and I, Eileen, met Alon first time on our second visit to Technion in 2007. I personally was fascinated by his initiative to create robots, robotic snakes that could be used to access areas inaccessible to people. We heard about that this morning, and I pinched myself last year when I watched the news, and I witnessed how these snakes that I had seen years before were used in search efforts in the building collapse in Surfside, Florida. It really meant a lot to me. So Technion has and will continue to lead the world in science technology. Alon can tell you from his own experience that the top essential Technion priorities will generate tomorrow's leaders in science and technology. This includes attracting the best students, recruiting graduate students, increasing the number of postdoctoral fellows, and identifying top faculty. Alon is the founder and director of Biorobotics and Biomechanics Lab at the Technion. His lab is best known for creating the robotic snakes I spoke about for urban rescue. And as co-founder of Med Robotics, he helped invent a medical snake for minimally invasive procedures on organs that are hard to reach. Alon is quite active outside the lab as well. He heads the Israeli Olympic Sports Research Center, a Technion collaboration with Israel's Olympic Committee, and First Robotics, which we heard about this morning from Dean Kamen. He has also worked for in industry for Elbit and at Alon Engineering. So I'm telling you all of this just about Alon as a backdrop for what he's going to be talking about today, about what the university can do to ensure its success for the second 100 years. So Alon, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure. Let me tell you a story. So a few weeks ago, I got a phone call from Mary Ellen, where are you? Telling me you need to give a talk during lunch, talking about the most important part of the university. The most important assets of the university are students. I immediately said yes, of course. And then I tried to think, it's during lunch, people are going to be busy eating, so how should I do this presentation so I would still stay Alon Wolf and not Alone Wolf? So with that in mind, I came up with the idea to tell you my story, because my story is weaved with the Technion since 1991, when I entered the gates of the Technion as an undergraduate student after my military service. And since then, with a break of 4 years break when I was in Pittsburgh, Technion is my first, second, pick your choice, home. So I titled this presentation as the Technion family, the Mishpucha, and I know that we all use it because it's a Mishpucha. It's a family, and this is going to be my personal story, the circle of life. From student to a graduate student to a postdoc to a faculty that mentor students that become later on postdocs and now faculty, professors at the Technion, with an addition. I'll tell you about the addition during my talk. And of course, feel free to ask any questions or comments. It's not a lecture. We're in the Mishpucha, so we can do whatever we want. So with that, when we think of a family, we think of strong connections. And yesterday, I think in Roosevelt Island, one of the professor from Columbia mentioned it, the strong ties. Both of them, by the way, I know them from Carnegie Mellon. I was there when they were there. And it's something that is very typical in university. Your PhD students are your children, your academic children. And this is the relationship you develop with them. And at the Technion, it's a very strong, it's even a stronger connection. In the sense that it's very special because these students are more adult, they've served in the army, so they know what they want. Some of them have their own family already, so it's a really strong and unique connection. And the connection that is made between the professor and the students is a very long-lasting. So I have students that, still invite me to the brief and the birthdays and the parties, and we talk and we meet. And whenever we meet, even if we haven't seen each other for years, it's always like, it was yesterday. So that's the relationship you develop with the students, and if you think this is the strongest assets that we have, and to bring those strong relationships. And the idea also to teach the in-depth study, to take the place, within the lab, so to go in and out of the lab from the undergraduate level makes this connection even stronger. The fact that undergraduate students can go to a lab, talk to a professor who is approachable, who is giving them time, attention, it means a lot to them. And this is the relationship we build in the Technion specifically. And because it's a technical university, and it's in the air. It's this kind of approach. So the connections, as I said, is very, very strong. The students, as I said, are older than the typical European or American students because they serve in the military, and they know what they want. After 3, sometimes 4 years of service, they really know what they want. They are well prepared to take the burden of studying at the Technion. They're matured. And I can give you my personal story here. So when my first son, Yaniv, finished or graduated his high school, he approached me and he said, maybe I'll go and do the Atuda. The Atuda is the pre-military service studies. I said, why not? Do it. And then we started talking about, what do you want to study? And he said, well, I don't know. Maybe mechanical engineering. I want to be like you. I said, okay, this is a wrong answer. Go to service, serve your country. Let's talk after that. In his service, he was he was in the Navy with communication and all kind of things that I don't know exactly what he did. But I know that he was very much involved in technology with Cisco and all these kind of communication technology. And when he came out of the service, he changed his mind completely. He went to computer science. He's graduating this semester, his bachelor degree, and continue for a master's degree. But it just gives you an example how 3 years in a service, being exposed to technologies and things that others don't experience can change his world. So this is Yaniv, and this is, I guess, most of the students that you will meet on campus had gone through this process of knowing what they really want. And I think many of you, I heard from many of you, or some of you, that you met Dean Zadok, my graduate students, who actually, when talking to him, I think you can experience everything that I've just told you about. And I know he was very, very excited to meet all of you, and I met him just before traveling, and he sends his thanks for all of you who met him and hosted him. So as for my story begins in a small shtetl in Haifa, in the Bay Area of Haifa called Kiryat Bialik. This is me and my late mother and my father here. My mother was an accountant. My father was a technician, so I grew up in a machine shop. The first car I had, we took the car on a weekend, we took the engine out, we refurbished the motor and everything. So I grew up in a machine shop, working with tools and with equipment. And from early days, I knew that I loved mechanics. And Kiryat Bialik, for those of you who don't know, you can read here, was a German Jew settlement. Most of the people who lived there were survivors of the Holocaust, also my grandparents. And it's in the middle of the bay, and the reason I'm telling you this is because there is a direct view to a place which is on the mountain. It's called the Technion. Now, living in a German community that appreciates education, all you hear from the moment you open your eyes and you actually understand something is education, 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 and of course, Technion, Technion, Technion. So for me, it was a no-brainer to join the Technion as a student for two reasons. One, because I grew up here, and the second, because I like to, I grew up in my father's machine shop, and for that reason.
I'm worried about little Dilbert. He's not like other kids.
What do you mean?
Yesterday, I left him alone for a minute, and he disassembled the TV, our clock, and the stereo.
That's perfectly normal. Kids take things apart.
Oh! The part that worries me is he used the components to build a ham radio set.
Oh, dear.
Is that bad?
Normally, I'd want to run an EEG on him, but the machine isn't working. It's worse than I feared.
What is it?
I'm afraid your son has the knack.
The knack?
The knack. It's a rare condition characterized by an extreme intuition about all things mechanical and electrical, and utter social ineptitude.
Can he lead a normal life?
No. He'll be an engineer.
No,
There.
he'll be an engineer. So in many ways, I'm Dilbert. I'm the one who has the knack, who'll have complex life, has become an engineer. So I'm an engineer in training. And as my career started in high school, because like Robert Fulgram's book, everything you had to learn, you learned already in kindergarten. And this is Dean. We'll talk about this later. It all starts in kindergarten with junior FLL. And let me show you what I've took from my school. So I graduated all the ORT system, technical school. You got the regular math, physics with an addition of mechatronics, robotics programs. And then I joined the Israeli Air Force. I joined flight school, but different than our president who got the wings and he's a pilot, I was shown the window very soon, and so fly out of the window, you're not going to graduate. But I stayed in the Air Force, so he became a helicopter pilot, and I was in the technical unit of the Israeli Air Force, and I was a course commander and then chief instructor of helicopter technicians. And after finishing my military service, I joined the Technion in mechanical engineering in 1991. And as many of our students, and this is something you need to understand, many of our students work during their studies. Starting semester 3, 4, they take jobs in the Elbitz, Elthint, or Raphael, or others that are around the campus because they're more matured, they're older, they need to support themselves, they need to pay rent, they need to, some of them have to support even a family. So there's pros and cons here. I see mostly the advantage here. You learn, you know what's out there, you know what you want to do. So I joined Alon Engineering, who gave me the opportunity to be an engineer in his business, and I worked on mechanical design, classical mechanical design, and then in the 8th semester, just before graduation, I joined Elbit, worked in the electro-optical team, developing the first version of the F-15 helmet, the Elbit helmet. But then I felt that I was missing something, so in 1995, I got a phone call, come back to Technion. We have a scholarship, a fellowship for you, so I joined the mechanical engineering, this time as a master's student, full-time master's student. But in that in mind, I knew that I'm going to continue as, with academic life, living in the industry. In 1996, I married my wife, Naama, who is a PhD also from Technion. We met at the Technion. For those of, she's from industrial engineering, I'm from mechanical engineering mostly boys, industrial engineering mostly girls. Someone was genius to put the same cafeteria, to have us share the cafeteria, and this is where everything happens. So we met there and got married in 1996. In 1998, I started my PhD, and she started her PhD. In April 12, 1998, Yaniv, our first son, was born on campus. The second, in May 3rd, 2000, Idan was born on campus. So these are children that grew up in campus, in the swimming pools, and got the experience of living on a campus. And this is a typical story of many students you would talk to at the Technion. And in July 2002, July 1st, I got my PhD. July 4th of July, she got her PhD. July 11th, we were on a plane to Pittsburgh. She, as a visiting professor in University of Pittsburgh, and me and Carnegie Mellon as a postdoc in mechanical engineering for 1 year, and then I joined for and then I stayed for 3 more years as a research faculty in the Robotic Institute, the shrine of robotics in the world, and had other appointments in the University of Pittsburgh Medical School and West Penn Hospital as a research scientist, one in surgery, the other one in orthopedic surgery because of my background in medical robotics. We also got green card in 2004. So the reason I'm telling you this is because we had a very comfortable life here in America. I was a faculty, my wife was a faculty, and our daughter was born in Pittsburgh, Ronnie Emily Wolf. So she's born in Allegheny County, and then we got a position offer to move to maybe University of Maryland, College Park, and Carnegie made me an offer, but then came the offer from the Technion. And this is where you scratch your head. What do I do? We're here, we have everything, our children are here in schools and everything. Do you stay? Do you go back? And we had a comfortable home, and it was a no-brainer. In February 1st, 2006, we packed everything and home sweet home. Not Alabama, Haifa. So we moved back to Technion. I took the position. My wife was an adjunct professor in the School of Medicine, and we moved back to Technion. Now, you may ask yourself, why? So as an engineer, as a scientist, I made these tables, and I put the pros, the cons, and everything, and you do the math, you give scores to different things. It never works. It's somewhere here. But really, what enabled us to take these decisions, and it's not in the sequence of importance. These are just things that came out of my mind when I thought about this, is, we got a very nice startup grant. I got money to build a fabulous lab. Those of you who met my lab is state-of-the-art, something that you would get in, I'm not sure even that you would get in elite universities here in the United States. We got everything I wanted, a list, I wrote what I need for my lab, for my work, and Technion provided it, because Technion wanted me to be a successful researcher. Without these facilities, I won't be able to do my work. I got a beautiful space, lab engineer, I got career advancement chair, we call it now faculty recruitment chair, which means it's some kind of a fund that helps me personally move my family from the United States to Israel and settle in, because there's a lot of expenses. And Israel, Technion is, like many Israeli universities, is a government institute, so our salaries are controlled by the government, and the salaries at the beginning are not the best in the market. So this helped me a lot, and it made a big, this was a major consideration, moving back. So the faculty recruitment chair that we're still, promoted now. And of course, the students who are the top in the world, and the people. The Technion is about the people. It's about the people that come through the gates in the morning. Some of them stay there, live there, and some of them go. I always say, Technion without the people is just a bunch of buildings and equipment. Without the people, the students, the faculty, the staff of the Technion, it's nothing. It's just, if you watch History Channel, there's a beautiful program called The World After People. What happens to the world week after people, 2 weeks, So it's all about the people, the students, and of course the family, the feeling that you're part of a family, the Mishpucha of the Technion. And of course, Israel. For some of this, you are responsible. With your support, you're part of this success. You are a fundamental part of this success, with your support, your care, your love, to enable us give our new recruitments, our students, our ex-students and new recruitments the facilities they need to open their labs and become professors and successful researchers. And this is my lab, for those of you who visited there. I have a very nice space. We do work in biomechanics, so we study knee, hip osteoarthritis, how to fix it, some of our outcomes of our research with this respects are already being implemented around the world. Some people here already use it, and I think it was successful. And you heard from Ronnie before about scoliosis, diagnostic, about children. Another nice activity came from a meeting I had with Dean, I think 10 years ago, Dean, with John Schul. I think it was in one of the major events we had. And we spoke about 3D printed hands. Maybe I tried to compete with the Deca arm. There's no way. So we took this very seriously, and we developed prosthetic hands for children who are born without or lost their hands, and we give it all over the world for free. Let me give you, and we have, I think, hundreds of students already involved in the project from all the departments, computer scientists, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. You see the design, even designers come, from architecture, come join the project. We got the Variety Award this year, and I'll give you a story. There was a civil war in Syria, very bloody one. Israel was the only country in the world who opened their gates in the north to treat refugees, Syrian refugees in the north, in Ziv hospital. Thousands crossed the borders. One day we received a phone call from Ziv hospital. There's a child who lost his hand from a landmine. He's Syrian, can you help him? And we gave him the hand. This was the first hand we gave in Israel, was for a Syrian refugee. So somewhere in Syria, there is a 3D printed hand that was printed at the Technion, was given to a child, a Syrian refugee, who came back, who then returned to Syria. So this was the first hand we gave, and since then we gave hundreds of hands around the world. Everything is open online, so you can actually download the drawings and the electronics and the software and everything, the pipeline, and do it yourself, or we do it for you. The snakes were mentioned. You can see them here in the middle. One is the search and rescue. The other one is a surgical snake. It goes into the body in a non-linear trajectory, do surgery, wonderful things. It's a company out of Boston now. The Olympic sport research activity. And I also had the privilege to meet several world leaders. And this is all because of what Technion gave me and enabled me to do. During the year, as I said, I had many PhD students. These are by PhD. I had many more master's students who graduate, and everything you see is because of them, because they're actually the one pushing everything and doing the research. And I'm very proud of all of them, but I want to mention a few of them. Dr. Debbie Solomono, she's a research staff in biomedical engineering and mechanical engineering. So she stayed at the Technion as a researcher. Mona Khoury, Dr. Mona Khoury, also stayed at the university as a research staff. And Professor Ariel Fisher and Professor Dana Solav. One went to Stanford for a postdoc, the other one went to MIT for a postdoc. Both of them now are faculty, one in biomedical engineering and the other one in mechanical engineering, so I'm a very proud father. I walk like this with on campus. I have 2 professors, 2 research staff, and this is the circle of life, because I am the grandson of a very famous professor, Yoram, who then became a professor in University of Michigan. Yoram Koren, professor, he's a member of the American Academy of Engineers. And Yoram Koren was the advisor of Moshe Shoam, who was my advisor. And I am the advisor of Dana and Ariel, who would have more generations. And I'm also a father of these 2 young gentlemen that you see. We had a beautiful tour in Ferrari a few weeks ago. Yaniv and Idan, I mentioned them. So Yaniv on the right-hand side is about to graduate his bachelor degree from computer science. And Idan was just admitted to the Technion, mechanical engineer. You know. So he's going to start his journey in the fall of 2022 in October, and in mechanical engineering. I wasn't able to convince him to go somewhere else, so mechanical engineering. And there is Ronnie Emily. She's 17. She's an artist. She's a mathematician, a physicist. She doesn't know yet, but she's going to go to the Technion also. And the circle of life is, then in order to do that, you need to have the students. Everything starts with the students. So to encourage more young individuals to become engineers and scientists, I had the privilege and honor to team up with this gentleman that sits there. I think we figure out we just celebrate our bar mitzvah. Isn't it, Dean? Bar mitzvah relationship? Dean Kamen. So 13 years ago, I was asked by Peretz Lavi to head to the activity of FIRST out of the Technion. FIRST was always part of the Technion, and it's still and we have many other activities, by the way, but I know to talk about FIRST because that's what I do. It's an example. And FIRST is about, as Dean said, it's about inspiration for children from young age to become engineers and scientists. We start in kindergarten and we finish in high school. So we have more than 2,000 teams this year. We just made a calculation this morning, Dean. Around 2,000 teams in Israel. We started 18 years ago with 12. 12 teams, that's it. Now 2,000 in every corner of the country, from the Bedouins to the ultra-Orthodox to Christians, Jews, everyone. And Dean described to you this area where you see Iranians sitting next to Iraqi and Israelis, and you see this. This is the beauty of science, and with this activity, we hope to inspire more and more Israelis, young Israelis, so when they knock on the door of the university, they would mark something related to science and engineering. And you know what? It can be in any university. It doesn't have to be in the Technion. Of course, best if it's in the Technion, but any university, any degree in engineering and science. So first, as I said, is one example. We have activities in chemistry, in other robotics technologies, in architecture, And Technion is taking an active role in developing and pushing the next generation of scientists in Israel. And I think now is a good time to put the movie that you wanted to show.
My name is Aviad Navon. I'm a PhD candidate at the Faculty of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the Technion.
My name is Maya Kaduri, and I registered to the direct PhD track at the Faculty of Chemical Engineering.
My name is Din Zadok, and I'm in my master's degree, studying computer science.
My name is Rawan Omar. Currently, I'm a PhD candidate in the field of nanoscience, nanotechnology, and chemical engineering in the Technion.
My studies revolve around integration of clean and renewable energy sources into electric grids. As humanity, we have a lot of power, so we also have a lot of responsibility for this planet, for the next generations, and I realized that's something I want to be part of.
I started thinking of ideas of how can I exploit my knowledge in robotics into the medical field. I'm hoping that we will be able to actually recreate a virtual hand of someone that actually lost it in some way. The Technion gave me this environment in which I can actually create a collaboration between researchers from different departments.
In my research, we are developing life-saving applications. This way, we can reduce the mortalities and morbidities in a wide range of diseases. And for this reason, I chose the Technion. All the time, it pushed me toward excellence and to be the best version of me.
In my research in the future, I want to focus in cancer treatment and try to revolutionize the way we treat cancer patients and to prolong and improve their clinical outcomes. In my lab, we have students from Germany, from Spain, and even from Australia. So it gives us the opportunity to learn from different people that have maybe different point of views. It's amazing that we have the privilege for this support from the donors.
We can just focus on studies.
It also gives you the motivation to continue.
I couldn't do what I'm doing without the enormous support, so I'm really grateful for it.
So this is the story of the circle of life. My circle started 31 years ago, October of 1991, when I first entered the gates of the Technion as an undergraduate student, and with the privilege of serving in the administration right now, and generating the next generation of researchers, students that will be the future of the Technion, Israel, and the world, will make the difference, will make the impact, from spark to impact. Well, if you have any questions, I want to thank you, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you. Yes. No need from the icon here. Oh, maybe the rest. Yeah.
Thank you. Alon, you alluded to the fact that Israeli professor salaries are fixed by the government, and we know this. We also know that Israeli professors are very much in demand in U.S. universities. Israelis love being in Israel, but how much of an issue does this raise for the university about losing the best and the brightest, or do you all come back home?
No, we don't. Go to Palo Alto. I'll be in this area. I'm going to be in Seattle. I'm going to see thousands and thousands of Technion alumni are there. Some of them could have been excellent professors, researchers, and at the Technion. It is no doubt an issue that, outside of the, but it's even in American universities, the salaries you get in industries are always higher. Although they are better in some of the American universities, the salaries are better. But if you take it as a whole, that's why I put all those things I had in my table. It's not just the salary; it's what you get. It's the people. It's the students. I have a friend, my academic twin, Nabil Sim'an. He graduated also the Technion, PhD with Moshe Shoam. 6 months after me, he then moved to Johns Hopkins, and then had a position in Columbia. He was tenured, and now he's in Vanderbilt. Good universities, I guess. And When I joined the administration, Uri and I spoke about strengthening robotics in the Technion, so I picked the phone and I called Nabil, and I told him, Nabil, we want you back. As a full professor, tenured with everything you want. And the answer, he's married to he has an American family. He married here, children, and so he said, Alon, if it was up to me, I would do it tomorrow. But I have a family, it will be hard to take my family, my American family, to Israel. But I would do it tomorrow, without even thinking or blinking. I said, okay, Nabil, I got the point. I'm not trying to convince you, but why? Why did you give me the answer that you would do it tomorrow? I said, because of the students. The students at the Technion are the best in the world. That's quoting him. And he was in Johns Hopkins, he was in Columbia, and I was in Vanderbilt. So I said, the students, the people. It goes down, the bottom line, it goes back, to the people that are in the university. And of course, then all the other facilities that we get and that enable us to do whatever we want. Obviously, if I weren't given the lab, and it will be a different consideration. But this was an enabler to start thinking about, whether I want to come back or not. The fact that I was given the same startup package that I would have gotten in America.
So did you convince him to come?
No. I understood. I knew the answer because of his, children and family, but I tried. But I was curious to know why he said, I would do it if it wasn't for the family. So he said because of the students and the Technion. He loved the Technion. Yes.
It's really not a question. I just want to say that 3 weeks ago, both Dean Sadok and Maya Kaduri were at my home in Houston to speak to a crowd there. And so while you were talking, I texted Dean, and he replied to me, he's also my main advisor for the research, and we love him so much around here. So
thank you.
I wanted to
now you made me
this.
blush. Thank you. Yeah, Dean is a great guy. He's a great guy. Yeah. Any more questions? So I'm happy I'm not a lone wolf. You're still here in the room. And there's more. One, yes.
First, you are unbelievable. You are an inspiration to all of us. And I think Technion is something that inspires us, not just as Jews, but as, me that I have young kids, for the future generation. And I really hope my kids can follow your path and your kids' path. So my question is that for an American kid that is leaving high school and has the opportunity to go to MIT, to Stanford, to Harvard, like a very bright student, right? How would you convince him to go to Technion instead of going to MIT or how would you do that? Is that possible?
First, it's possible because we have the international program. So, we give degrees also in English, so you get a bachelor degree in English. Second, the Technion degree is considered one of the top in the world, so it will open for everyone gates in any top university in the world. And I think that the atmosphere that your children will experience at the Technion, this family, this Mishpucha kind of feeling, and the Israeli spirit, is something that he will probably not get in a typical American university. And I've been to several campuses. Not that it's bad, it's different. It depends, maybe someone likes this, then should stay in MIT or the Stanford, which are, don't get me wrong, amazing universities. But with the Technion, you get an addition. You get an amazing university. By the way, tuition is a little bit different. You don't need to mortgage your home. But even as an international student, it's reasonable. And the experience, being part, many of them stay in Israel, by the way. They learn Hebrew in the first year because they have to take an ulpan prior to their studies, and so they know a little bit of Hebrew, and then during the first year they become Israelis, and then they make aliyah, and many of them stay. They want to stay in Israel. They love the place. They love the country. And they love the industry. This experience of working with the Intels, the IBM. You heard Uri speaking in the morning, the PTCs, all the, I don't want to, the other names that he didn't mention, I will not mention. Other companies that are coming now probably to campus. So, yes. Excuse me?
Adverse effects from your saline Band-Aid?
I'm not thirsty anymore. I told Dean, Dean, did I say it? I told you, I cannot drink more.
Alon, we are all inspired by your story. Thank you so much. We're also inspired by the dedication of all those who come back to the Technion and teach there. The Technion, and we're also inspired by the Technion as it contributes to the prestige and the success of Israel. And that is, my question is a little different. Israel exists in a tumultuous world these days, as we all know so very well, and has taken the initiative of establishing a campus in China. I'm curious what is happening with that. I've heard that some of the Chinese students who come and learn at the Technion are very successful and inspired, and when some of us in this room were in China a few years ago at the Technion campus, and I think everyone was impressed by how enthusiastic the Chinese students were about being associated with an Israeli university. To them, that was something very important and held a lot of respect. How is that continuing now with the changing world and particularly the United States' relations with China?
So, first, Chinese tradition are very much like Jewish life. We both appreciate the values of education, knowledge, and family. So this is why they feel very comfortable. And yes, we have quite a few students joining the Technion International School in the Haifa campus, not talking about the one in Guangdong. So, like a student from India can apply if he's good, or a student from Guatemala or Peru. So these students apply because they're good. It's all about merit. It's not, Uri mentioned in the morning, race, religion, and gender is not a consideration in the Technion. Class number 1, by the way, in 1924 had 16 graduates, 1 woman, 1 lady. And in those days, it was not simple for women to get an engineering degree. And we keep this. So if it's Chinese students want to apply and is good, welcome. So this is part 1 of your question. The second one is our relationship with the campus in China. So with the campus in China, what we teach there are more soft kind of engineering disciplines. You don't see there cyber or security-related things. It's more environmental, more things that are good for for society. So this is how we, try to keep both campuses alive. And this is an obligation we took. We can argue about that, but we took and we have to fulfill it. And we do our best to do, and it's a great campus. Actually, it's a great campus. The students there are brilliant. They're smart. And I think that, China, you cannot ignore China. So we have it there, and we teach there those engineering disciplines which are more related to environment and sustainability and energy. Yes, Howard.
I'm not going to say anything good about Alon because he is family, he's my cousin. I had a question. Since the time you started testing on 91 in robotics, can you speak to what Uri spoke to earlier, this cross-disciplinarity, which is now so much a part of engineering? Like, how has it changed for you in robotics?
So now it's not a joke, but when I started this, I was a lone wolf because really this lab we had with Professor Shoam was really multidisciplinary. Surgical robotics, I spent days, hours in operating rooms in the medical school, in Rambam, in Carmel. So I took a lot of disciplines. I worked a lot, and I had a lot of collaborations with doctors, with MDs, MD, PhD students. So it was really kind of an island in the Technion in those days, 30 years ago. And I remember when I interviewed to the Technion, I gave a job talk. And I gave an American classical job talk. I showed the results of my work, the snakes, the surgical snakes, the medical robotics, and everything. And then some of the professors asked, so you're doing a lot of things, so are you doing science and math? And this was a question that was very typical 20 years ago in the atmosphere of the Technion, which was still thinking in silos. And so I was asked to give a second job talk. Not many knows it here. And so I called the second talk, The Math Behind the Applied. I gave them a mathematical talk that after 3 minutes, I lost everyone in the audience. They all rolled their eyes backwards because they could not understand anything. Because obviously, behind robotics, there's a lot of math. There's a lot of control, dynamics, differential geometry. And I put it all there, and I got a job. But now, it will be different. Now you see new recruitments, and they're actually encouraged to be multidisciplinary and work together and collaborate. And we are creating those places, those cafeterias, where people should meet and work. And you see more and more projects for students who are, cross-campus. So the helping hands attract students from almost, I think half of the campus. And I mentor students from, Dean is from computer science. I'm mechanical engineering, and I mentor him, and I have students in biomedical engineering. So it's, as Uri said, when it's not about, just saying it out loud. It has to be, there should be actions, boots on the ground, as we say. There should be actions. So the change should come bottom up and top down. Bottom up is from the students level, the graduate students, the faculty, and top down, meaning from the administration. So when a promotion case comes to the committees and the Technion, multidisciplinary will not be a red check mark, but a green check in your file. And this is a change in the state of mind of a university. And this is why Uri said it's going to take time. It's not something that is going to happen overnight. And we already see the process, because the young generation is all about multidisciplinary. They all understand that it's multidisciplinary. I'll give you another story. For 6, 7, I don't remember, with COVID I don't remember, 7 years ago, I got an invitation to give a keynote talk in Basel, in Switzerland, in a conference about drugs. Not drugs, medications. And I thought that there were, sometimes they make a mistake with the name and they approach you. And I said, I emailed the head of the conference, and it's the European Conference on Drugs. And he said, no, we want you to come to give a keynote. He said, I don't do medications. I do robotics, surgical robotics. No, talk about this. So I came a few days earlier to my talk because I wanted to sit and listen what they speak about in the session. So maybe I could tweak my talk a little bit and not embarrass myself. And then I realized that developing the drug, the molecule, is one thing. But delivering it, maybe Dr. Bula will talk about this today, bringing it from here all the way where it needs to reach, it's called drug delivery, is a major, major concern and challenge in the industry. How to bring it without destroying the drug or creating damage. And it's a classical multidisciplinary. So they wanted to, why did they call me? Because robotics is maybe one solution. All kind of robots that will bring the drug. Nanorobots that we do in the lab. Or micro robots, swimmers, all kind of delivery systems. So to your answer, Howard, it has to come bottom up, but also top down. And that's the process or the transformation that we're undergoing now at the Technion.